welcome to Art with Ian. This is episode 5 of the real-time painting series that we've been working on. So, let's just jump right back into what we've been doing here with Link. I've looked at the painting a little bit before I started this one, and there's a couple adjustments I want to make, I think. I think his neck might be just a little too long. So I'm going to just tug that down a little bit. Or I'm going to try anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy. And this is all on, I've been working on one layer with him. So I'm just going to delete that out and paste. And now I just have it on its own layer. And so I can move it around. And if I decide to change my mind or whatever, I can do that. Okay, see, I think that feels better. I think his neck was just feeling too long for sure. So let's try something like that for now. Gonna get my eraser here. And I'm just gonna get like a soft eraser and feather away the edge. Okay, oh, looks like we got... Let's get my chalky brush up. I'm gonna hint at a little Adam's apple happening here. Okay, alright, let's zoom out again and just kind of look and see where we want to go with this. So I think I want to start introducing texture and also going a little darker, getting deeper into the shadows. But I also need to introduce some light. So I think as I introduce the light, I might just go with the texture at the same time. So I'm gonna quickly hit his hair with a little more deep shadow, and then I think I'm gonna start getting some light going on the tunic and adding texture as well as we go. I think we're ready to kind of move into that phase. I'm going to merge the head down because I think I'm happy with that location now, and I'm trying to kind of keep on one layer. I am going to do the texture on its own layer because that'll become obvious why I'm doing that when we get to it. But for the most part, I try to work in as few layers as I possibly can. Because in my opinion it helps to keep the process nice and fluid. If you start, when I first started doing digital art, and for many years, the novelty after so long of being a traditional artist, of just being able to create a layer, if I didn't like something I could get rid of it, really kind of sucked me in, and I kind of fell for the trap of always creating layers for everything and eventually I actually developed a lack of confidence. Not really, but kind of I was weirdly afraid to do things, and that really, and then you end up with a bunch of layers and you get really quite slowed down by that, and that's just not ideal. I don't want to be, like I said in the last episode, I don't try to rush these things, but I also don't want to be slowed down by a inefficient workflow. That's definitely not what I want to be doing. So, okay, so as you can see, I've gone into the brown, quite brown here for the shadow on his hair. I don't want his hair to feel dull, right? So that's why I've chosen to do this instead of going with something more gray. But we'll see if I stick with it, or if, it feels pretty good right now. We'll see. Remember, there's two sections of hair going on here. There's the hair that comes off of from here at his ear, and then there's the hair that's actually coming from the top of his head. Let's go darker. Right in here. I think maybe it's just in general I've got too much of a like this bit up at the top of his hair. I think it's just too much. It's a little too tall. I know that it's quite big, but I think this is like on another level. So let's do something with that. I'm just gonna get a regular old eraser out here and calm this down a little bit. Alright, I think that's better. Back into our brush. Whoa, I think I got a skin tone there. Did not want a skin tone. Let's get quite deep and just go right into here. Okay, and don't forget we are going to be pulling strands of his hair out over his face, but I don't feel like there's any real point in doing that until I've actually decided that I've finished, gotten a little closer to having a finished render going on his face. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna go into here. I think I'm gonna create like a little bit of a deeper fold right there. Like that. I think that feels nice. And a little something out on the other side as well. Okay, let's see here. I think maybe his hat could come down. Well, first of all, we want to go into there a little bit more, but I think his hat could maybe come down this way just a little bit more. So let's make that adjustment really quickly. If you've been following along this whole series, you will recall that I said early on that I continue to work on the design the entire time. I never stop until I say that I'm done. And even when I say that I'm done, I'm almost always like looking at it thinking, well, I'm done because I'm done working on it, but I'm not. It could be better. Yeah, pretty much. Typically that's the way I feel about work, even when I am signing off on it. I think that's probably pretty normal. I think artists do have a tendency to be kind of a bit perfectionists. Comes with the territory. Just getting a little bit of a richness right here in that fold. Now you got to be really careful when you're going for realism, not to get too much line in your rendering. Like you saw, I started out with a line and then I kind of eased that off because we don't see lines very frequently, almost at all really in reality. And so as soon as we start working in lines in our paintings, we start to dissolve the illusion that of realism that we're working towards. Now I know I said I was going to start painting light on the tunic, and here I am painting shadow. But I'm just kind of going where my brain took me here quickly. I saw a couple things. Okay. Put a little nuance in that. Okay. Yeah, let's paint a little bit of light. As soon as I get this one shadow right here sorted out. Okay. Alright, so we're going to start with our normal main tunic color, and we're going to think about light. We do have warm light, and we do have ambient light coming down into this shot. I think I'm just going to go less saturated. I'm not sure if I'm going to go more yellow. We're going to try this out. So I'm just going to go a little bit lighter and a little bit less saturated. And we're just going to take a moment and feel this out. How does this feel? Well, certainly we didn't need any in these two spots, but I'll just paint that right back out. But in the places that it does belong, I think it's not too shabby. Maybe a little bit right here. Might put some on there. This right here would definitely catch light. Oh, and I said I was going to paint the texture when I painted the light. Which I apparently quickly forgot about. I wanted to do some stitching along here. So let's indicate some of that a little bit. I wonder if we should do some stitching along the side here too, just to show this is the side of his body. It's an opportunity to show that this is the side of his body right here. So I don't think I want this to feel that prominent. The light made these folds feel too prominent. So I'm going to back this stuff off. And you got to be careful how much you sell certain things, right? Like, do you want a fold to feel really, really prominent? Well, you got to, if you add too much light and shadow to it, it's going to do that. So you got to be aware of what you're doing. Okay, so let's grab a texture brush really quick. So if you decided that you were going to pick up the brush pack that I linked in the last video, and I'll link it in this one as well, then you can use the same brush I am. Otherwise, just find a texture brush that you like. If you do decide to get the texture pack, I'll be using MA brush number 5-2 right now. That's what I'm using, and I might use MA brush number 8-3 at some point here as well. But let's get in here so you can see what this brush does. The way that I like to work with this in order to really show the texture is to mix kind of a bit dark and a bit light together in a zone, and then to whatever that zone may be. If it's a light zone, then heavy on the light, and usually in the dark zones we don't see that much texture anyway, so it's no big deal. So let's just create a layer, and I've grabbed a darker color, and I'm going to very lightly start to paint on top of this area of light with the tunic. And because it's an area of light, we're actually able to see that dark texture creeping through. And usually what I like to do for this is just kind of play it back and forth a bit. But it's not usually all too important to try and sell texture in the areas of shadow, because you simply just don't really see that much texture in shadow. Okay, let's get like a lighter green. Working that texture. Back to a darker green. Continuing to work that texture. Now, I'm really zoomed in right now because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing and better understand, because it's quite, at a distance, this could be quite subtle. And we want it to be subtle. It is, in fact, very important that it's quite subtle in the end. Okay, I'm going to get back to a lighter color. So what we're accomplishing here is creating fabric. That's the goal that we're shooting for. Instead of having this be something kind of slick like this, we're getting something that feels a little bit more like fabric. And obviously we can push this as hard as we want or be as subtle as we want. There are going to be areas where we want the texture to fall off, like in the areas of the brightest light and in the areas of the darkest dark. And then there's going to be areas of transition where we want that to feel that texture really popping through. So let's zoom out some. As we start to zoom out, you'll start to notice it gets more and more subtle, and you can tell as we get back out here now the difference between the feeling of this and the feeling of that as actually a real fabric. So we've definitely kind of made some progress here with this. Okay, let's go in and start working on the rest of this. And I think you can probably realize by now why I'm doing this on its own layer, because I can easily ease it back with a soft eraser. I can turn the opacity down if I want, or I can simply delete it if I want. I have those choices. Okay. Zoom out and have a look. Okay, so now texture off, texture on, texture off, texture on. Now another thing we can do if we wanted to technically is we can use layer modes, right? Which in the past I have done a lot of that, but in this case I don't think I'm going to, at least right at the moment. Probably gonna just work with what I have as I have it. So I'm going to take a soft eraser and just ease back on some of these until I feel like I've pushed it into the painting. Okay, let's look at his sleeve on his undershirt. Now I'm going to change to the MA brush number 8-3 for this and get one of the lighter colors. I'm going to blow this up. I'm just going to paint right over the top of the sword and then erase it away. Okay. Back to my brush. Okay, I'm not sure if I feel like this one's getting me what I want. I have another brush that I might try. I think this one feels just a little too organic. I mean, it's giving me a little tooth. I like that, but I'm not sure it's quite what I want. Also, this arm is really just too big. I've just kind of noticed it right now. I'm like, you know what? This arm is just too big. It's kind of odd. Suddenly just suddenly made sense that it was too big. Very weird how that happens. But I'm going to... Yeah, I think I'm going to copy, delete, paste. First things first, we'll get it back where it was. I'm going to size this thing down. Yeah, I think that's definitely better. Also, the fairy can come with. Fairy could probably be just a touch smaller as well, actually. There we go. Okay, I'm going to quickly paint the tunic back in right here where it went away because of what we did. And there we go. All right. I think that's better. Yeah, I think that arm was just too big. It was weird how it just jumped out at me all of a sudden. Okay, anyways, moving on. I'm going to merge that down for now. Back to this texture. I'm not totally feeling like this is the one. So I'm going to try this other brush that I have. And unfortunately, I can't remember where the heck I got this from. So that's, yeah. You're going to have to just try and find something that does a similar effect. The brush basically has this effect. It's like super kind of streaky paintbrush effect. So what I'm going to do with it here is try to run the shape one direction and then rotate and run the shape in this direction. And what that's doing is giving us a bit of a, you know, woven fabric sort of a feeling. Okay, and then get our eraser back, soft eraser, and just ease that in. Nice and subtle. Okay, I think that's better. That's more like the texture I wanted. Alrighty then, let's see here. Let's go ahead and do some texture work on the leather. We'll start with these ones. And I might just keep with this brush that I have up right now. And just do some nicks, scratches, scrapes, things that have happened to this in its life. Oop, got away from me. Okay, let's get a different texture now. I'm actually going to get the soft round pressure size brush. I'm going to go in with fairly light, not light, but lighter and grayer kind of a color. I'm just going to go and indicate that some of these nicks and scratches that I just put in are actually catching a little bit of light as well. And just add some new things, new bits. There's probably quite a bit of scuffage here, around here, where he opens them all the time. I'm actually going to just render a little bit of light onto this flap right while I'm at it. Some nicks on the edge here. Just trying to be a bit spontaneous and just add some stuff in. We're very zoomed in right now, so what seems like it might be a lot is actually not really a lot. Let's see here. Yeah, you know what, I'm just going to keep with it and carry on in through here. I think I kind of want to change this setup. I've always wanted to do something else with it, but that's a different thing. That'll be back on my main painting layer. I'm gonna go back to this other brush that I had, size it down. Let's get into here, onto his strap. I think every single time I've tried to say strap in this series, I've not been able to find the word. It's really quite strange. I'm not sure why that is, but there you go. This brush is very unwieldy, but if you can just get it right, it gives you these beautiful little things. What it's actually meant to do is this, it turns out. That's what it's meant to be doing, but if you just barely hit with it, you can get these little scrapes and scratches and things that are pretty cool. Okay. Make sure I'm on my soft eraser. Ease this stuff in. Okay, what's our time? 35? Probably before I switch brushes, I should do his leggings, because they're the same texture as I did up here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that really quickly. Okay, rotate canvas. Nope, I didn't like that line. Okay. Right through here, just a little bit. Okay. Back to our eraser. Doesn't seem. There we go. That was weird. It was like it wasn't erasing. All right. I think that's fairly decent for now. Let's go into his boots. They're gonna be all jacked up, really. I'm going to get back to the soft around pressure size brush and go in grayer and lighter. Start to add some extra scuffs and marks. Okay, let's change the brush here to MA brush number 8-3. So this one you can use technically if you buy that brush pack. I'm gonna go grayer. That's too pink. Okay, and just back to my regular MA brush number 1-2. Just, I don't know if you've ever looked at like leather and stuff, but it kind of gets like some spots and things on and just is generally not very clean. Alrighty then. This is where the this painting detail is just such a noodly process. I hopefully you guys are enjoy watching, you know, this level of taking time to paint this kind of level of detail. But you know, pretty sure we need to see some knee here. I mean, not knee, excuse me, some leg. This is all kind of, you know, you slowly resolve things that are weird, that you notice are weird as you go. This should be really dark in here. We should probably put a shadow underneath him also, because quite honestly, he's floating, and as we get more and more into the render on his body, the fact that he's floating is getting weirder and weirder looking. I don't know if any of you guys are like have been staring at that, just screaming at the screen saying, dude, put a shadow under him already, man. What the hell? But if you have been, I wouldn't blame you. I'll take a look at that here in a second. Okay. I think probably definitely need to get darker, deeper and darker into this shadow here. Now, it's interesting when early on in the process, when this, like when I put this down, this felt like a fairly dark shadow to me anyways. I don't know what you guys thought, but now it feels washed out. And I love working this way. Like, that's why I build my darks, because I feel like I'm in control of how dark things are getting, and I can see, and you know, my vision is like adapting, right, to the values as I build them. And that's a really nice, to me, that's a really nice way to work. Okay. Let's put a shadow under him. For goodness sake. I should work on this bottle at some point too. But, okay. So, I actually accidentally started working on my texture layer for other stuff too. So I'm just going to merge it down, because I'm fine with it. So, we're back to one layer. I'm going to put a layer underneath Link here. And I could use multiply for this, but I don't even have that much texture on the ground right now to, you know, for it to matter. I'm just going to take a dark, kind of cool. I almost wonder if I should just use what I have right now, but I think I'm going to go maybe bluer a little bit, but stay blue-green. I'm just going to use what I have right here, and we're going to see what this feels like. And remember, the light is coming over my shoulder, pointing down at my screen at him, and coming from a bit of an angle. That's the lighting setup. You can see it right here in the cast shadow of his arm. You can see it in the cast shadow of his nose as well. And all of the shadows are, but those are the ones that make it super obvious. So what that means is we're not putting a shadow out in front of him very much. Like what I even got under the shoe might have been too much, but we'll leave it for right now. The shadow is actually kind of gonna go slightly this way. And then the sword is out a ways from his body. So we get that. And then you guessed it, there's a shadow over his boot from the sword. And did I get that angle right? It's hard to say. We'll just fade it out some. Not positive I got that angle right. I think I did, but anyways, we'll see. It's all good. Back to the shadow underneath. Okay. Let's see, come down. Let's just think about an angle here. Yeah. Let's get it to at least out here. Okay, I think I'm gonna live with that as the shadow for now. It's our time 47. Okay, cool. Let's do the bottle. Wow, I guess I never lifted my pen up. And the cork. I've been considering potentially moving Link back a tiny bit into the shot and like letting the bottle either come slightly forward or just making it a little bit, or I guess leave it the same size and make him a little bit smaller, move him back and let that become more of a foreground. Kind of like it rolled a little bit away from him and have that just to create a little more depth in the piece, because Link is very, you know, I want him to be big and in focal and you know, but having a foreground element. I was thinking about just putting some bushes and things up in here, which I'll probably still do, but like maybe he could be moved back a tiny bit. So I might try that right now. Let's just gonna duplicate. Oh, you know what? I needed the fairy. I need the fairy to come with. I'm gonna duplicate this. Make it a group. Turn this stuff off. And I'm going to try. It's gonna move the jar back right now because it's all together, but I have the other version of it. I'm gonna try just shoving him back a little bit. It feels a lot more comfortable, in my opinion. And then possibly keep the jar from the original. That selection sucked. Okay. Get that. I'll just repaint the shadow. I don't know why I'm faffing about with this. It's stupid. go away, come back, and in this group, I'm going to erase the jar. And its shadow. Okay, turn it back off. Okay, jar, I should just name it. That way I know where it's at. And I'll move it up. Actually, I'll move it up above Link, because it's actually in the foreground of Link. And above the fairy even. Okay. But I think I will paint its shadow with the shadow for Link. Probably a bad idea, probably regrettable, but I will for now. This bit with the shadow of the sword coming across his shoe just does not feel correct to me. Something is afoot. Ooh, bad joke. I think maybe just the angle of it's wrong. I don't know. It's very strange. Maybe I just got the color wrong. I needed to work on the color a little bit more. There's also some things happening right in here that don't feel correct. Yeah, I think that's better. I think it was just too, like, blobby, like, through there. Something like that for now. It's gonna have to do. And then for the boot, I just need to actually get the proper boot shadow color. And I'm just gonna create a layer over the top in case I hate it. Okay, that's better. Sometimes I actually just take a duplicate of what I'm working on and I distort it into position and try and create my shadow that way. But I think one of the issues going on here is that we have no texture on the ground really. And so it's kind of giving this illusion of it just being like it's not that believable as a shadow quite yet. But we are at 56. Man, time really flies on these episodes. It's kind of hard to believe. Yeah, leave it on normal mode. Really quickly, I think I might just try to indicate some dappled light on the ground, just to kind of show what direction we're going to be going with some of this. I think for this I will use a multiply layer, that way I can paint underneath it later. I'm going to kind of do like a bluish, coolish, very grayed down, cool color here. And let's just try a texture that I have. Any old texture that, you know, not any old texture, but certain textures should work for what I'm about to try and do. We're going to try and create the beginnings of dappled light, the shadow part of the dappled light. So I'm going to blow this way up. And I have this set to multiply. I'm going to start to imply, I don't know if this texture is going to work for it. No, this texture is all kinds of wrong for this. I'm just going to use a brush, regular brush then. My chalky render brush, it's slower. What do I have? I'm at 58. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to imagine there's a tree up here somewhere. And its leaves are casting some shadows. This is going to be really rushed because I'm trying to end this like almost right now. But those leaves are going to be casting some shadows around here. And into here. And then on another layer, we will do probably soft light. We will go really light, and then we'll show the sunlight coming through. And all of these patterns and things are going to be cast onto Link as well. This color is completely wrong, but I'm rushing. But it's okay. That's a little better. It's starting to. Anyways, it's a back and forth play between, you know, the shadow and the light, and eventually you get something that feels pretty good, but it takes time, and 2 minutes is not enough time to actually make it feel like anything. So we're just gonna call this really quickly. But anyways, yeah, you get the impression or the picture, and we're gonna kind of start casting dappled light onto Link as we push on into the next phase. Anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying this series. We've hit the hour mark, so that ends this episode. If you are enjoying these videos, give this one a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.